Hey, Ange.
Hey, Les, how's it going?
It's going really well. What a great day I'm
Good.
having.
Good. Good for you. I'm
Yeah,
happy for you.
I
My day's
know.
pretty great too.
No particular reason, but you and I had a nice chat earlier today. We
We did.
laughed and this and that. So,
Long chat. Yes,
yeah,
all the things.
yeah.
It started in the bathroom and just kind of followed us around in the kitchen and
Then we added a
now
friend
here.
to it.
Then we added a
Talking to him
friend.
was good. And then we got back.
Hilarious. Hilarious.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Listen, and that's what made us think about what we were going to record today.
Yes. But see, all of our conversations are real and organic. So they do start out. That's why the whole podcast started, because we started like, you know what, these are provocative things that we're talking about. And I think that people will find it amusing, informative, fun, whatever. So,
Anyway,
all right.
welcome. Welcome, everyone.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Black Boomer Besties from Brooklyn.
Hey, I'm Angella, and that is Leslie, my best friend of almost 40 years. We're just two intellectually curious older Black women. What that means is that we like to go deep. We have been this way as friends for decades and decades, and we like to push against the boundaries, push against the edges, challenge the status quo, and we've just gotten more intense about it as we have aged. And
Yeah.
so here we are. Today we're going to be talking about being a lot and what that means. And
I'm laughing because it comes up in our conversations with each other and with other people a lot.
we're a lot, and that's okay. We just want to be really clear up front that we think a lotness is okay. We're going to talk about what it means to us. I hope that you share with us what it means to you
In other
and how
words,
you
are
feel
you a
about
lot?
it. Are you a lot? Are you a lot? Or
Oh, how
or
much are you?
how do you feel about allotments in general? Like, how do you feel about it? Before we begin, Leslie, ask the people.
I would love you to be one of our subscribers. So please click like and subscribe and hit notifications, because then you'll hear about when we drop new content. You'll see whether or not we're really a lot. It's like, she's a lot, but this one not so much. But yes, hit like and subscribe. We appreciate you and our subscribers.
Thank you, thank you,
Mm.
thank you. So we're having a um, two-way conversation, me and Leslie, and then um, there is another friend from high school. Listen, if you haven't realized it already, our circle, tight friend group, high school people, we have friends outside of high school, but I'm just saying this is a recurring thing. We're speaking to a friend and yeah, from high school. So this is
Yeah,
someone
nearly
we've known.
50 years ago. We've known him forever, half a century.
And so Leslie is closer to him than I, and so they talk more often. And somehow she thought that he had agreed to be on our podcast, right? So
I really did.
not necessarily today, but just, that at some point he was gonna
He would
come
be a
onto our
guest on our
podcast, right?
podcast.
So she tells me it's locked in, we got him.
Let's get him on
Okay,
the phone.
let's get
Talk about the.
let's let's get him on the phone. So, needless to say,
He said he never
he
agreed.
said he never
He said he
agreed.
never agreed. I'm an
So
introvert, and that's not my thing. And essentially, Les, where the hell did you get it that I now, what I conceded was that I said he reluctantly agreed, but I thought
yes,
he
yes,
agreed.
she did say that, and that's kind of how we started thinking about the way that we are a lot and how it shows up in friendships and relationships and all the things,
Because
between
I
the 2
did
of
start
us, how it
strong
shows up.
arming him, like, yes,
She
you
did,
did, and come
she
on, and give
did,
it, and this
she
is what you can
did.
talk about, and this, and then I'm like, Les, if you want to get the man to be a guest on your podcast, simmer down now and take. He's
Simmer
telling
down
you he's
now.
an introvert.
Right,
So my
right.
producer here, she jumped in and it's like, okay, look, we're not going to tell you what to talk about. You
No.
come to us. You're
Yeah.
funny, you're this, and
Yes.
so you guys
Yes.
may meet him, and you'll see why
Yes.
he's been our friend for 50 years.
Yes, 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 yes. So, we did end the conversation with, "Okay, yes, I'll think about it." Yeah,
Hmm.
because, you know, we think it's really important for the voices of us, of our generation, is out there in the ether, in the big data, in the worldwide webbiness of things. We think it's really important. So hopefully you'll hear from him. But anyway, it got us thinking about all the ways that we are a lot. And I had been asked recently, someone who's getting to know me, what do I mean when I say that I'm a lot? And I'm going to say what I mean. I'll start with when I say I'm a lot, it is not a self deprecating term at
Mhm.
all. It's just making it clear that this is how I show up. And if that causes you to repel, recoil, run, I'm probably not for you. I'm probably not for you. And it may be that I'm not for you in a relationship. It may be that I'm not for you as a colleague. It may be that I'm not for you in some kind of collaboration. But it could mean that I am for you if you're looking for a champion. If you're looking for somebody who can see you, hear you, promote you, all the things. So that is how,
Mhm.
that's kind of the framing of it. When I say that I'm a lot, I mean
Mhm.
that I have a lot of layers.
Mm. True.
I have a way of seeing the world, which includes changing the way that I see the world. And so you may see me with some perspectives 5 years ago that I no longer have and that I'm vehemently against the way that I was 5 years ago because I'm in
Mm.
constant change.
Mhm.
And
And that can be a lot because
that
of
can be a
the
lot.
unpredictability of it.
Yeah, yeah, and it could be a lot because some people may associate change in point of view, change in opinions, um, as flip-flopping, which I
Hmm.
completely it's like, "Really?" You guys have heard me say this. My faith practice demands that I'm in constant change, demands that I'm trying to better
Mm.
myself, to move
Mhm.
towards a more
Mhm.
ideal,
That this
person.
is not where you have to end up and stay and
Exactly.
constantly thinking, when I think
Exactly.
of you being a lot, and I do,
That's why you love me.
but and I do, what I think about you is one, the very many layers. But I also think that you're very complex in that you have a scientific mind,
Mhm.
you were trained in engineering, so you have that technical aspect to you, but you're so much of, philosophical, you're thinking, you're, like, grounded in
Juju?
psychology in a way, you think about you're emotional,
Mhm.
so you have a lot more, I think, of a breadth of personality than I do,
Okay.
you know?
Okay. Yeah.
Um, and it's funny that you said that you don't see it as self-deprecating as all at all. If I were to describe when I say, because I say this to my friend Rick a lot, I say, "Am I a lot?" He's like, "Absolutely." And I'm like, "Wait a minute, but really? No, really, am I a lot?" And I've always said to myself, I would never have characterized myself as being a lot because I did look at it as more of a negative, like
Mm.
overbearing,
Mm.
judgmental, kind of scary, out, or, just too much, too much. A lot as in too much.
Mm.
So I think it can be looked at in many ways. So when I
Yeah.
asked for examples, he did tell me, and you've told me, and other people have told me. My son has told me, it's like, yeah,
There's
ma,
a
you're a
pattern.
lot. And what it is, I think it's the fact that I don't stay in one place. I'm not satisfied. Like I have a bucket list. So I am not just satisfied often with status quo. I kind of see possibilities and trying to attain different things and higher levels all the time.
Can you
So
give
I'm
an
always coming
example?
up with a plan. Well, I went to medical school at 36. So
Okay.
it was like I wasn't necessarily happy with where I was.
Yeah,
So I'm like, okay, I can change, I can do much. Some people may say that's a lot. You were a teacher, you had a good job, a good position, well paid, etc. Why do you need to make any more?
right,
Whatever.
right.
Another example
Please.
is
Yes, that
that,
one.
here I am at this point in my life. I'm a physician, I'm pretty stable and comfortable and all, but it's like I have this whole other life that I want to live. I want to leave the state. I'm planning to leave the country in some capacity. I'm in a new relationship, and there are so many more things that it's like, oh, the possibilities are endless. You know, I don't see status quo as acceptable. There's always more. I mean, we have the capacity to live our best lives in whatever way that we want to see it. And I know uh from my life experience that there's so many abilities that I have that I've may not have realized or whatever. It's like I'll try anything once. That kind of thing. It's like, ugh, that bucket list is still calling me.
Okay, so this may be edited out, so I'm not sure. But I'm gonna ask you for something that we talked about, more like earlier today
Oh, I
as an
see.
example.
The
No,
artwork?
just to kind of
Oh,
there's several then.
there's
There's
several things.
several,
We had a long conversation today.
but give give the example about the park as an example of a lotness,
Oh,
because that's how it shows up kind of in the day to day, and why I love your allotness, and why sometimes it's just a lot for for other people. So can you give that example?
okay. So my now I see the error of my ways, but I was I was just being Leslie.
Oh
So
my
my
gosh.
friend took me to the park, and it turned out that it was a special thing for him to bring me to the park because this is a place of peace, a park of peace, meditation, contemplation. It was like his happy, relaxed, calm place. So I learned later that by him taking me there, it was a special moment, that he was gifting me, let's just say. It was meaningful to him. So when I went to the park, I love parks. So I went to the park. I'm embarrassed to even say now. And while we're sitting on the bench, we're just looking, listening to the bird. It was a beautiful, like, spring day, right? And and I said,
Now if she said whatever she says, it's because she's been thinking about it. So picture
right.
she's
So
sitting on the
I'm
park
like,
bench.
we're just
She's not
chilling, right? So, first of all, I always have to have food. So the first thing I'm like, I says, do you ever bring a blanket and sit on the grass? Now we're on the bench. Do you ever sit on the grass? He's like, no, I sit right here on this bench, same bench.
Oh
And
my
I'm like,
god.
this would be a great spot because it was by the brook and it was water and a little footbridge. And I said, we should go and get some food and we can sit on the bench
Oh,
and it can turn into a picnic. And I'm like, and I know you have your speaker with you so we can listen to music. So, in other words, I'm moving
oh
from
my
this
gosh.
contemplative, quiet, intimate moment,
Oh,
and I want to turn it into a full on picnic.
a full-on production with music,
And we fought
with a
about it all
charcuterie
the way
board.
home. Like, I'll never bring your ass to my special place again. It was
Oh
like I
my god.
desecrated the space, and I said to him, my pushback was that, like, "What do you mean? It's a park. Parks are great for picnics and this and that. I'm sure you have
Oh
a
my
blanket in
god.
your car. What can I sit on? Why am I sitting on a bench?" it's like when I can sit on the grass and it turned out later that I missed the whole point.
Oh my gosh.
I don't I don't think we've ever been back to that part.
He goes, but he doesn't take you anywhere.
So so the other thing is this same friend of mine, right? He's an artist. His drawings are just beautiful. He has this way of doing line art. Um, and he does it while he's doodling, but it's so pretty that I've taken one of his pieces and I framed it, and I put it in a frame or whatever. So, and I said to him,
Can't leave it alone.
I said, I just can't, and I said, you know, these pieces would look, because he's renovating his home. I'm like, these pieces would look so nice if they're blown up and professionally framed. I said, do you ever think of that? No. He said, no. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna leave this one alone because he does his drawings for himself. I said, you ever
Mm,
consider, would you like to see this on your walls or whatever? He's like,
mm,
no,
mm.
you know? So I don't
Yeah,
know. I just think that, I don't know. I just try to, I guess it's hard for me to just be, I'm trying to just take things to the next level. I think that elevating something, it's like, why wouldn't you put your beautiful artwork in a frame,
right,
where you
right.
can look at it? But it's in a portfolio that's
Yeah,
under the couch,
yeah.
that just sits while he's watching television and starts drawing. It's not that thing for him,
It's not. It's not. And
you
do you
know,
think I think
and
what happens sometimes in our allotness, what we may be communicating to people is how they show up is not enough, right?
mm,
And,
right,
you
right. Like,
know
why wouldn't you
r
make a picnic out in the park?
yeah,
Why
yeah.
wouldn't you put art to be beautiful art to be framed?
Right,
When
right.
he told me he did not have a bucket list, I
Mhm. Oh,
couldn't
yeah.
believe it. I didn't
Yeah.
know that it was possible for people
Mm.
not to have something that they're moving toward all the
Mm.
time, something to
Mhm.
check off, the next thing after you attain this one.
Right.
I just
Right.
didn't know it was a thing.
Right.
So at my old age of 63, I'm learning.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm learning.
Yeah. Because this thing that we're trying to get to in that next thing, and I think we may have talked about it on the podcast, definitely we've talked about it in person,
Mhm.
is that, you're seeking something that they may have already achieved, right? They have may already achieved that sense of fulfillment and contentment,
Completeness
and it's here, and it's in what they have, and it's not in what's coming next.
and
And
that's what it
so it's
is. That's
yeah.
what it is. Because when
Mhm.
'cause I couldn't believe it. I keep
Right.
asking, like, "Are you sure? Like, there's nothing? Nothing?" And he says,
Oh my
"No."
gosh.
I'm very
Mhm.
happy where I am right now. And,
Right, right.
and then what makes me wonder, and this is really more personal, is that you wonder if a person like that can make space for someone like you,
Mm. Mhm. Okay.
you know?
So I have some listen, I first wanna share about, I wanna give a shout out to, Ismail. This is someone that I met it's been I don't know, it's been,
Months.
probably 9, 10 months maybe? I don't know, somewhere around there. And, I recently got a text from him. He's a listener. He's also a podcaster, but he's not actively doing that now. And I want to give him a shout out because um, he reminded me just 15 minutes ago that some people actually see you just how you are
Mm.
with all of the allotness and they dig it. right? And so
Yeah.
this idea of whether it is a negative or a positive term, it's kind of up to you. It's kind of up to
Yeah.
you how you want to
Mhm.
to see it, right? Um, and I when you were talking, what came to mind for me was my last relationship and the way that it ended, which I really had a hard time because I didn't expect it. But the
Mhm.
way that it ended, and you and I were talking about this earlier too, is because he recognized that I was too much for him,
Yeah.
right?
And I
And
just did not accept that. Yeah, go ahead.
and where I am now is that he was absolutely right. He was absolutely right, and what that might have meant for me in becoming the person who may have fit better with him was it would be a curtailing, a diminishing, or whatever, a subduing of myself, right?
Mhm.
Which I now have an opportunity in a new relationship to be all of the ways that I am without feeling like, oh,
Mhm.
am I pushing too much? Am I, and so his recognition of who he was and where, although, I'm exciting as fuck, you know, when he realized that, um, it was going into talk about marriage and so on, and it was gonna be too much, I now can see and be really grateful because I still consider him a
Mm.
friend, a good friend,
Yeah. Yeah.
that he knew himself and he sized up the situation before I could. And because I was able to kind of see him eventually as someone who wasn't trying to harm and, all the things he could have done it
Mhm.
differently. All those things are still true. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, this is better than if we try to make something work that would have kind of led to some inauthenticity. So
And
yeah,
and at the time, you did show up fully.
I
So
did.
you did
I
not
did.
diminish yourself, but
No.
what I thought, and I think that we discussed it at that time, was that you didn't we both thought, or you specifically thought that
Mhm.
he just didn't understand your person and
Mm,
was
mhm.
misreading you.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
when he, for example, and I don't even remember the exact details, but when he would say like, "Oh, maybe, I don't like the way that you present yourself in public, on
Mhm.
public, social media or
Blue
whatever."
hair. Blue
Blue
hair.
hair, let's just say, because that's who you are and blue
Right.
hair doesn't appeal to me. You know, you thought perhaps that he was just misunderstanding why the blue hair or the need for the blue hair or whatever.
Or whether
But
it was really that important to me.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm. Mhm.
I think we thought he misunderstood your priorities.
Right. Right. Yes, that's a good way of putting it.
But I think in retrospect and with wisdom, and you have to step away from these things a little bit more
Absolutely.
too,
This is the changing
with
part.
time,
Yeah.
yeah, is
Mhm.
that you stop not just looking at others, you start looking in the mirror
Mhm.
and you start saying, well, is there any veracity in that?
Right.
Did it make
Right.
sense? And I love
Right.
the way that you concluded that, you know what, I was not the right person for him. And while
Mhm.
I loved him, he
Mhm.
recognized it before I did. And
Right.
perhaps he, he didn't realize or know how to come across or whatever.
Right.
But
Yeah.
the fact that he did you a favor and me
Yeah.
a favor too.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm really grateful for it because I think sometimes love can lead to you diminishing, and I firmly believe that, you know, in a relationship, each person, are their individual thing, but I think the relationship, it's its own thing, it's a third thing,
Mm.
separate from the 2, the relationship is an entity
You
in
mean
and of
like you,
itself.
them, and then the relationship.
Correct.
I agree. I
That there are
agree.
3 things, right? And so, I think that I would have been because of the love that I felt, I would have been willing to turn down some things, which I do think is okay to do in a relationship, right? I do think
Mhm.
it's okay to make some adjustments for the third thing, but you're
Mhm.
still yourself. But in this third thing, for example, just to make it really practical, I could be a certain way, turn some things down, not do
Hey,
all the things in the park
oh,
for a relationship. But
calm
when
down.
you and I are together, we could be the picnic. Do you know
Yeah,
what I
and
mean?
we
So
are the
we
picnic.
are the picnic. I'm the music, she's the wine.
Right, but I
She's the one, and she would be the
yes,
one to think of
yes,
it,
I'd be the food
right?
too.
Yeah, you
I'd be the food, always food.
you would be the wine and the food. So we can still be ourselves and show up that way in other contexts, but the relationship may need different things, right? Different parts of you, turn down parts of you, whatever. But it's not that you just become this thing and you cut off anyone who
Yeah,
you can be all the other
right.
things with. That's kind of
And
that's the
and
story.
and what I misinterpreted with the park situation specifically was that I did not realize what was actually happening there.
Right. Right.
Sometimes in my too muchness or a
Mhm.
lotness, I need to
Mhm.
step back and evaluate what's going on more clearly
Right.
rather than
Right.
inject my
Mm.
and
Mm.
this and oh, you need
Mhm.
this and we got to add this and
Right.
candle, candle, fern, fern, and this and it's like sometimes there's a place for everything.
Listen, we
It's
gotta explain the candle, candle, fern, fern,
yeah,
because that another hilarious we've had so many things. So,
and they
for our
become part of
40th
our lives.
they do, they're like little and they capture a whole story within them. Within
They
the
do.
terms, they capture just a whole story. So, candle, candle, fern, fern comes from you wanted to say
Our
something?
our good friend
Our
who
good
decidedly is a lot. Let's just
wait.
say that.
So,
She's a
we
lot,
had we
and
had
I've known her since we were 10 years old.
So we had a fabulous 40th 40th year birthday,
Birthday
like
party.
group birthday party at my fabulous home that I used to live in New Jersey, right? So we're planning this big, I mean, like it was big,
It
like
was huge.
it was
People came from
huge.
far and wide.
Oh, far and wide. We had luminaires up
Invitations
the
and
driveway,
this and
all the things, glass. And so our friend Andy just, let me tell you,
I'm laughing just thinking of it.
she's a whole production,
She
and we are so
is
grateful. I remember when we were planning, and Leslie was like, "Maybe we can have some balloons," and
balloons. She's
she
like,
was like,
balloons.
"Absolutely."
This is not a children's party. She's like, balloons are for children. We are adults. We must have
Oh my gosh.
candles.
So she came in and she
She
was like,
walked into
"Yes."
the space. Now she's decorating.
And she's like, "Candle, candle, fern, fern."
Candle, candle, fern, fern, candle, candle,
Oh my
fern, fern. So whenever anyone
But
is
it
over
was
the top,
amazing.
it's candle,
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 fern,
fern,
fern.
fern. It
So,
was an amazing party. Yeah. So
and we
anyway,
love her
that's what we
we love
oh my
that about
gosh,
her,
all the things because I'm telling you,
We could have done it without
she
her. We
it
could have done that without her.
lip
We would have had balloons in the damn
we
space.
would have it would have been so
Different.
such a diminished version of who we
Who we
are,
really are.
who we really are, and it was
Thanks, Andy. We
fabulous.
heart you.
Thank you so, so much. Um, she gave us little albums, so we have pictures. Maybe we'll put some yes, we'll put some pictures for our Patreon subscribers. We
Oh,
will put
okay.
some pictures of this. Maybe we'll add one for all of you guys. But come on over
Okay.
to us on Patreon. Anyway, so that's the candle, candle, fern, fern. But this whole idea of a lotness, and I think I love the way that you pointed out, Les, that your you were seeing it as more of a negative. I was seeing it as more as of a positive. But I want
Mhm.
to kind of say that I didn't always feel this as a positive, right?
Mm.
Like I've changed my view on how I see myself and how I have self-compassion and the things about myself that I wanna keep, that I really think, is enduring and, is beautiful about me, and I wanna recognize the things about you and your allotness that I wouldn't change for 5 gazillion dollars. These things about you and the way that you see people, and, it's just one of the beautiful parts of who you are,
Mhm.
and so it's yeah.
You said something that was special before, and I think that this is the sum total of it. I think that however it is that we are,
Mhm.
we want those who we care about to see us.
Yeah.
And you've not known Ismail very well and very
Mhm.
long, but
Mhm.
from what he wrote to you and the way that he described you, you could tell that he sees you.
Yeah.
And I think that we all know what it feels like when people we care about see us. And we also
Yeah.
know what it feels like when they don't.
Right. Right.
Um,
Right. Right.
and when we're seen, I might be a lot, and the picnic with the sitting on the grass and whatever may not have been the scene, but if I SCENE that he wanted at the time, but
Mhm.
if he sees that I'm not coming from a malicious place, I'm not trying to, alter him or this,
Mhm.
or my heart is whole and open, then you know, I think that because he understood that, you
Mhm.
can't get too mad at it. This is just who she is,
Right. Right.
and I understand from that experience and from the art experience and from many experiences, when to dial it up, when to dial it back, and to really discern more what's really going on and what
Right.
people are trying to say,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
I This came up too in our earlier conversation about um, how much the end of that relationship really became a gift
Yeah.
that I can only see in retrospect, right? I can only see in retrospect because I feel like I have access to that friendship,
Mm,
and I also have access to a new relationship where my allotness is is celebrated,
mm,
is, you know, creates a sense of pride, and, they want more of it. It's not this thing that I have to turn down, and so I authenticity gets overused. It's one of those
yeah,
words that,
yeah.
gets overused, but that's what's coming to mind now because, um, you may, um, you may have a tendency to wanna change, fundamentally who you are, right? And when I talk about change, I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about, um, if I could put it in an example, I'm not talking about, you being a compassionate person and then you not being a compassionate person because,
Mhm.
whatever. I'm talking about, you had these ideas about things that were like this, and then you kind of open up your
Yeah,
ideas about them.
yeah.
And I think we have ideas about ourselves. Everyone has an idea about each other, about themselves. And that can be kind of opening and opening and opening. And, you
Yes,
know,
and I think that's the point of Black Boomer Besties from Brooklyn
what's that?
podcast,
Oh.
because we are realizing and we've seen in ourselves over the years that we used to be perhaps like this, and we have expanded the way that we think
Mhm.
about things.
Mhm. Mhm.
I said to you earlier today, relaying a conversation I had a day or so ago, that I never want to be in a position where I lie to myself.
Mm.
It's not a matter of what I say to other people, perhaps, although my word is important to me. But I don't want to live a life where I'm telling myself things that are not true. and trying to
Mm.
believe things that are not
Oh,
true.
wow.
And sometimes a
Okay.
lot of that takes courage, but I mentioned
Yeah.
that to you earlier today.
Yeah.
I um I see that in other people. And, honesty and truthfulness is important, but it's also painful. It's a
Mm,
lot to ask to be honest with yourself. What really happened in that relationship?
mm,
What
mhm.
really did you say to that person,
Right.
to turn them off or to, whatever? Or how are you
Mhm.
really presenting yourself at work? I
Mhm.
remember I said to you recently that sometimes I walk into the OR and
Mm.
after, I listen to myself and I'm like, I don't even want to hear from myself anymore, let alone my poor staff. It's like, Les, I complain, why are there no syringes in the drawer? Did anybody fill this thing? And like for months, I would complain that there's a certain soap dispenser behind the desk that is always empty. And every time it's like it's the most natural thing. Obviously, we wash our hands all the time. To wash your hands when you in your recovery room, go to the sink and then there's no soap or then there's no paper. And I'm like, all right, Les, stop it. Just stop it. Go someplace else, I really stopped. So I don't want to lie to myself and say,
I'm
oh,
not that person.
I'm not that person,
I'm not
Les.
bossy, I'm just
Sometimes,
helpful,
sometimes you are that guy.
and that's
Sometimes you
okay.
are that guy. Oh,
Just
that's
admit it.
funny.
Mm-mm-mm.
Yeah, but I guess I'm a lot.
Yeah,
But I'm loving, and people at
you're
work, they really know my heart. They know I care about them. They know I care about my patients. And when I make these decisions, it's not because I'm having a bad day or I'm rushed or busy, because I want things to go smoothly. And thank God they do.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, all of that.
Yeah.
So the question is, are you a lot? And what does that mean to you? Is that
Yeah.
something that you kinda hit yourself over the head with? Is that your Judge Judy? Or is that your, "Oh my god, I'm a lot. I am a
And
lot."
yeah.
Yes,
And
that's
I love that you
awesome.
love my allotness and you
Yeah.
see me.
That's right. So check in on yourself, leave some comments, let us know how you're feeling about this conversation and whether people have been telling you that you're a lot and
Yeah.
whether that's making you try to not be or whether it's like,
Don't do
"Yeah,
that. Don't
don't
do
do that.
that. Don't do
Mm-mm,
that.
don't do
Mm-mm.
that. No." Think about it, though. Think about it, like, what does that mean? And, like Leslie was saying about the picnic, there is some things that she would turn down because what she missed was the moment that he was
That he was
trying
trying
to
to create.
invite her into. He was inviting her into something, and she came in and took over. So you can examine things like that,
Mhm.
but it's not about, okay, be a lot with go to the picnic with your bestie.
Yeah. And then we can do all the stops. We can have the champagne and the cheese and the grapes and the basket and the this. I have all those things. We'll
All
be
the
ready. We
things.
could be ready. The ant repellent,
Oh my gosh, yes.
sunscreen.
This is my life with her.
All right.
Anyway,
This has been another episode of Black Boomer Besties from Brooklyn.